Hey, to whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it, the odds seem stacked back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand tall. Sat and watch from the sidelines one too many times. Wicked games we play make me wanna lose my mind. Found solitude knowing it'll be over soon. Ever need a boost, count on me for the 1-2. Trouble don't last when the tough get going. Baby, all we do is win, so show me my opponent. Adversity, doubt, stress, could care less, cause how we handle those like an S on our chest. Super proud of how we held it down on the way up. Can't wait for our day to ball, this is a layup. Nobody ever said this would be easy, but trust when I say that you got it. I know you've been looking for a breakthrough, trying our best to make do. Every day is something new, but change don't come, oh yes it's true. Brighter days are straight ahead. Follow me, won't be misled. Just look up, don't hang your head, and we'll get to the promised land. Somebody loves you, please don't forget such. Take your time, no need to feel rushed. We gon' shine somehow one day. Word to O'Shea, today's been a good day. Don't let one bad apple spoil the tree. The fruits of our labor seem ripe, can't you see? A little insight so they'll never dim your light. Been wrong for too long, this here feels so right. Leave your fears in the rear view, right now on a mission. Trying to stay the course on this road to redemption. Giving up seems tempting, but no need. Cause I got you and you got me. A little UNITY will get us by. Through the storm and the rain, I'll be by your side. Look alive, the best has yet to come. Just some words of wisdom, plenty more. I know you've been looking for a breakthrough, trying our best to make do. Every day is something new, but change gon' come, oh yes it's true. Brighter days are straight ahead. Follow me, won't be misled. Just look up, don't hang your head, and we'll get to the promise, yeah. And it may seem like things ain't working out, but I know we gon' find a way without a doubt. Just hold on a little longer, you gon' see this through. I've been there, certain things always remain true.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So happy that all of you are here. Whoa, that was an open window that I didn't want. See you all in the chat. Thank you all so damn much for being here. Holy cow. Show keeps just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is fun. And funner and funnier, the funnest. You guys, welcome to Lou Reviews, the destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Please do not forget to smack that like, share, subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you're notified any time we go live, which is Mondays and Fridays, 3 to 5. Yes, we now have a schedule. Praise be UFOs. So we're here Mondays through Friday for at least 2 hours a day, and sometimes streams in between, depending on what kind of breaking news may or may not happen. So ring the bell is all I'm saying. And if you really love the show, please check out our Patreon. We just got a brand new Patreon member, Steve Long, fan of the show, who's always here. Thank you so damn much for your $20 Patreon membership. I truly appreciate it. And I also want to give a big shout out. Let's go ahead and swap out to the old Lou Reviews view. Right here, we've got a James Craig 4479, who after the show donated $50 and said, thanks, this is missed a few live streams as I'm in Sao Paulo. Just wanted to thank you for being bold and bringing the truth out. Thank you, James Craig 4479. And I pinned that tweet to the last Friday's show, which was a banger. If you haven't watched it, we broke down Kirkpatrick basically eviscerating ufology, and it was kind of fun because the aftermath to it has been a lot of tears, an ocean of tears from the believers, and gosh, I feel like saying that just like draws a line in the sand, us versus them, which I don't want to do. I'm just trying to bring some of these folks into a little bit more rational discussion. And I think even without the aliens, this is still a very, very interesting discussion. So, you know, that's all I'm trying to do. But, yeah. Anyway. Okay, so let's get on with the show, shall we? And we're going to be actually talking about this. And luckily I found the clip, so I don't need to rely on any of the bottom dwellers to get that clip out to you guys. But we'll cover that at the end. today we're going to talk a little bit about the UFO Boogeyman Jay Stratton and in a clip of his interview that Jeremy Corbell put out. And it really, to me, tells everything about the UFO grift and how Jeremy Corbell conducts his interviews as an investigative journalist. And I think he shows a big part of his tactics. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're also going to discuss Tyler Rogaway's latest article in the Warzone, which lays out a very scary scenario when it comes to adversarial drones. So those are the two things on the docket. We've also got a pinned link in the chat. So if you guys want to call into the show, we'll be taking calls in the second half of the show. So you can call in anytime and we will stop what we're doing and answer your questions. Or your complaints, or your praises, whichever they be. And then also we're going to touch a little bit on, literally, David Morehouse. I'm not very familiar with him, but the title of Danny Jones's interview here is CIA Stargate Spy, Remote Viewing, Ancient Egypt, Aliens and Space Warfare with David Morehouse. And there's a moment here where he talks about David Grush and the UFO community and remote viewing aliens. I don't know if we'll get into the remote viewing aliens part, but there's a lot of interesting sort of topics here in the outline. So I've included the link to this entire interview in the description below. So if you want to go check out the whole thing. And then we got a very interesting, it wasn't, that crazy interesting. It was something that people thought was happening, just not in this way. But the way I found this article was very interesting. And I'll get into that and sort of like why I find that kind of stuff a little annoying. And we also got, let's lead with this. So this is from Dean Johnson. It was shared by John Greenwald. And he writes, breaking news. I don't know why. Damn, my internet is moving slow. Okay, so breaking news, Freedom of Information Act pay dirt. Joint Chief of Staff's worldwide unidentified anomalous phenomena reporting procedures, May 19th, 2023 by Douglas Dean Johnson. Again, if you guys are not following Dean Johnson, you are genuinely undercutting yourself when it comes to anything UAP, UFO, or even fact. I think one of the most valuable thing he does is he's done some amazing and excellent reporting and timeline building of George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Bob Lazar, their past, presence, and their influence on the community. He's done pieces on all sorts of people and breakdowns, and it's some of the best work out there. So definitely follow Dean Johnson if you haven't already. But he writes, on May 19th, 2023, the Joint Staff J3 Operations, J36 Homeland Defense Division, so that's the Joint Staff, of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, disseminated to all unified military commands worldwide a set of uniform procedures. This is so interesting. To be followed for gathering data and reporting on contemporary military encounters with unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP, using a detailed standard reporting template. I have now attained a copy of the Pentagon message. I believe that its detailed contents are being made public here for the first time in the Genadaman message has previously published. That publication has not come to my attention. This message was designated as Genadaman, which I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's an acronym for something. Joint Staff J3 Washington DC, and then 19452 ZMA23. So I'm assuming this is all the stuff that's up here in here. Let's take a look at this paper. So these are reference to memo A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then up here, it's just, yeah. Okay, so this is basically to who it's to. All right. Because, yeah, I've never seen anything really presented like that before. I don't know what Gen admin is. Gen admin. I'm assuming I was saying it wrong the first couple times there. I'm not here. This is not happening. Please cover the Soul Foundation paper and the Arrow report rebuttal. I didn't see the Arrow report rebuttal, but I do have the Soul Foundation white paper pulled up. And yeah, we're going to try and get to that as well, because that was a white paper written by Tim Galladay, who is a U.S. Navy admiral, who has already admitted, and we've covered this, I've got the clip, that he has never seen anything, but in these white papers talks about just some amazing stuff. So anyway, well, yeah, if we got time, we'll try and get to it. Thank you for the donation of $4.99. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see here. So, journalist Brad Vincent referred in passing to the existence of this message in a Defense Scoop article dated August 30th, 2023. Hicks takes direct oversight of Pentagon's UAP office, now reporting website, to be launched. I promptly asked Pentagon press officer Susan Goff to release a copy to me, but Goff replied, quote, "I cannot provide a copy of the message to you as it contains information that is not publicly released." Did I miss the message? No. It is not publicly releasable. On August 31st, 2023, I filed a FOIA request for the Gen Admin message. The Department of Defense Freedom of Information Division has now released a 9-page document to me. Response letter dated March 15th, 2024, received to me on March 18th. With only minimal redactions, after redacting my personal information, I am now making the complete FOIA release available at the link below. The image merely shows the first page of the documents. Click the link below to see the entire PDF. Among the noteworthy aspects I see in the May 2023 Joint Staff communication, he goes on to quote parts of this, so this is great because then we don't have to go through the whole 12 pages. But the link is there. Go check out D.D. Johnson. An introductory paragraph states, quote, "The U.S. government has observed UAP in or near the territory and or operating areas of the United States, of its allies, and of its adversaries. And observing, identifying, and potentially mitigating UAP has become a growing priority for U.S. policymakers, lawmakers, and warfighters. The potentially ubiquitous presence of UAP defines the national security implications of those anomalies, which range from operational hazards and threats to technological and intelligence surprise to adversaries' strategic miscalculations. It is imperative that DoD provide UAP incident, incursion, and engagement reporting data and material for the department's detection and mitigation of potential threats, exploring the advanced technologies and informing policymakers and warfighter decisions." Nowhere in there does it bring up aliens, extraterrestrials, non-human intelligence, unknowns. It sounds like they pretty much know exactly what's happening. Operational hazards and threats to technological and intelligence surprise the adversaries. Strategic miscalculations. So I think the strategic miscalculations is, hey, it's not, they've been taking advantage of the fact that we've been stigmatizing the shit out of people seeing weird things in the sky. And that is a strategic miscalculation on part of the Department of Defense. It is imperative that DoD provide UAP incident, incursion, and engagement. We were just talking about this the other day, and this is exactly what Kirkpatrick was saying in his interview and what the entire part 1 of the report is emphasizing more than anything. And again, this memo went out to every single branch of the military. They are destigmatizing this officially. Now, that is part 1 of the report, and that's what they're doing by congressional law. They are doing this. They have to shore up this massive hole in national security, and this is the way they do it. So, they're literally telling you here. Amazing. Reports on UAP incidents are to be transmitted upward with 96 hours, but any, quote, UAP engagement reports within 12 hours. So the UAP, and we were wondering this the other day, this is fucking amazing. So they have to, any UAP incidents are to be transmitted upwards within 96 hours. But any engagement with those UAPs needs to be reported within 12 hours. So they basically get, 5 days? I don't know. What's the math on that? 5-6 days? Almost. I wonder if they include, if that includes, that's 5 business days, 96 hours. Shit. I don't know. I don't know what that means, but that's amazing. What it means, I do know what it means. It means that they have to report these things to Arrow within, at the very least, 96 hours. But if they engage it, so in other words, if they shoot at it, they communicate with it, they get a good look at it, I don't know. I don't know what it counts for engagement beyond that. Maybe, mimicking the flights, kind of like David Fravor, how he says the Tic Tac was sort of mimicking his flight. I would assume that's engagement. So that stuff has to be reported same day. Same fucking day. No fucking around. So a UAP engagement is a kinetic or non-kinetic response to UAP, intended to deny, disrupt, or destroy the phenomenon and or its object. So there you go. The next sentence told me exactly what engagement means. I love it. The ultimate nexus of collection and analysis of these reports is the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The reporting procedures in the Joint Staff Message apply only to detections or encounters that demonstrate behaviors not readily understood by sensors or observers. The reporting procedures in the Joint Staff Message apply only to detections or encounters that demonstrate behaviors not readily understood by sensors or observers. Included but are not limited to phenomena that demonstrate apparent capabilities or material that exceed known performance envelopes. The UAP reporting procedures described in this directive do not apply to incidents, incursions, and engagements by identifiable non-anomalous phenomena. So in other words, if it's a plane, if it's something for sure it's a drone, we don't want it. We want the stuff that you do not understand at all. Quote, incidents, incursions, and engagements by identifiable non-anomalous phenomena and other capabilities or materials that do not exceed known or predicted performance envelopes, such incidents will instead continue to be reported through established processes and mechanisms. So they are also establishing, look, we don't mean the shit that you see on an average basis. If it looks normal, report it. But if it exhibits something that you've never seen, we want to know about it. And it's imperative that you tell us about it. It's law now. You have to do it. The reporting matrix seeks 11 categories of information. 11. Wow, not 5. Among these, any UAP displayed, quote, anomalous characteristics, behaviors, example, no apparent control surfaces, extreme acceleration / direction change, detection by certain sensors but not others, and any UAP effects on equipment, example, mechanical, electrical controls and weapon systems, and whether persistence or transitory. And whether persistent or transitory. Got it. Okay. So that's interesting. So they're essentially telling you, but here's the thing too, is it just depends on how close you are. You may not see any of these control surfaces. And it's funny, so no apparent control surfaces, extreme acceleration / direction change. And UAP effects on equipment. Interesting, not humans, but equipment. So I guess these drones are now, well, obviously not now, but have probably been for a while. these experimental aircraft that our adversaries are using, or might be being made by just normal companies or people in their backyards. Seriously, like, people do startup companies with stuff all the time in the United States, and there's not a lot of regulation in the world of drones. So that's interesting. But if our adversaries have stuff that that can affect mechanical and electrical controls and weapon systems, that's wild. Arrow will coordinate the handling of any UAP objects and material of incidents, intrusions, and engagements, but, quote, recovery and transfer of identifiable non-anomalous objects, items of foreign origin continue to be managed by the DoD Foreign Materials Program. The military commands are to enable, quote, enable deployment of special sensors within the AOR, area of responsibility, for the detection, observation, and identification in sensitive areas and during testing or deployment of special capabilities. So the military commands are to enable deployment of special sensors within your area of responsibility for the detection, observation, and identification of sensitive areas. So in other words, fix your fucking sensors so it looks at the certain parts of the sky where these things are at, where we're filming them, where we're getting eyewitness accounts about them. And especially during the deployment of special capabilities. So anytime we're testing our new toys, essentially, like, you bet you have to report this stuff. Further context, on its website, Arrow calls the military reporting system that defined in the May 2023 Gen Admin, quote, current operational UAP reporting in a briefing for selected journalists on March 6, 2024. Arrow acting director Tim Phillips said that Arrow is receiving, quote, approximately anywhere between 90 and 100 to 110 a month through such channels. Interesting. So they're getting about 110 incursions that fit within these parameters that Arrow just laid out for the entire military. All of it. They're getting about 110 a month. That's crazy. That's a lot. Within our airspace, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, damn, dude. Let me check something out here real quick. All right, everything seems to be going good over here. Still really slow, my connection. So weird. Anyway, all right. So 110. So, geez, man, at 110 a month are being seen through all of these channels. 90 to 110 a month. That's a lot. That's covering a lot of our military assets every month. That's over thousands of drones successfully infiltrating our airspace and spying and collecting data on us in 1 year. That's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Phillips also told the journalist, quote, we're trying to work out the command and control, the mechanisms on how whether government entities can report UAP incidents to us. We've received a number of reports from the Department of Homeland Security and their aircraft reporting to us that we follow up on. As for civilian reports, the Arrow website states, quote, Arrow receives UAP-related pilot reports, PIREPs, from the Federal Aviation Administration. The UAP reporting system for contemporary military-associated UAP events, as set forth in the May 2023 Joint Staff Message, is separate and distinct from the Arrow, quote, secure reporting system and receiving reports. So the Joint Staff Message is separate and distinct from Arrow. So it's secure reporting. So it's not just Arrow that are going to be getting these reports. So no one can say, oh, it's Arrow hiding this, it's Kirkpatrick or his underlings, and everyone there's an evil monster. Like, the Joint Staff is also getting these messages, and they're getting to take a look at everything that's being reported. Quote, secure reporting system for receiving reports, quote, from current or former U.S. government employees, service members, or contractor personnel with direct knowledge of U.S. government programs or activities related to UAP dating back to 1945, end quote, which is accessible through a portal on the Arrow website. Arrow does not yet employ any system for receiving UAP observation reports from the general public. The image below merely shows the first page of the Joint Staff. Okay, so those are the things that Dean Johnson basically, those are the big talking points of this. And yeah, I'm not going to read the whole, 29-page report. That would be insane. But if you guys want to, again, if you guys want to check this out, I'll go ahead and link or show you Dean Johnson. He's at DD, the letter DD, and then the second D starts the name Dean. So Dean Johnson, and that's his handle on Twitter. But I'll go ahead and also throw it into once my computer loads up. So slow. Could be the fact that I have this thing open here, the StreamYard. I'll remove myself from there. Maybe that'll help it a little bit. Oops. Wait, where were we? There we were. Okay. Yeah, I'll put this in the chat here for you guys. All right, so let's go back to our bookmarks here. So basically, everything that was in that report that we read last week and the Kirkpatrick interview is prepping, and thank God, like Dean Johnson put a FOIA request with this, but this FOIA request basically validates everything that Kirkpatrick just said. Like, we are trying to destigmatize this across all branches of the military, and we need to have our military understand that when they do report something to Arrow specifically, that it's not just any mundane thing. It has to reach certain requirements before you submit a report to Arrow, but especially if there's engagement, it has to be done within 12 hours. And if there's no engagement with the objects, then within 96 hours. So it's like, shit, you guys, like, they're telling you straight up, like, this is a problem that we're having. It's a national security issue. And they even admit here, with the language that they're using. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. But this sort of idea of like, yeah, we've messed up. Like, there is a massive hole within our, reporting procedures. There's a massive hole in national security. Our enemies are taking advantage of the fact that, we have trained everybody basically to shut up, don't say anything, don't report anything, or they're going to demote you, or they're going to fire you, or they're going to label you a kook, and you'll never get that dream job that you wanted because you're the guy who saw a UFO, So they are ending all of that across all branches of the military. And this memo, this FOIA, confirms that. It absolutely confirms that. So, hate to break it to you guys, Kirkpatrick was right. Kirkpatrick was right. Holy cow, he was. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to hear that, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Let me check some. Let's see. It looks like we got a message here from. I'm not here. It's not happening. Let me take a look at it. Okay. Cool. Jeff Knox. Got it. Okay. I got the article here. I'll pop it in here, and if we can get to it, we shall. Alrighty. Let's get to the next thing here. So, Tim Galladay wrote, "It is my honor to author the first at Soul Foundation white paper. This is on a transmedium UAP and unidentified submerged objects, USOs." And then, we've got the Soul paper popped up here. So again, this is a white paper. This is not a scientific paper. This is essentially like an op-ed, like, in a way. He's giving suggestions and, stories and trust me, bros. And there was this one thing that he was discussing, rigorous protocols. He gives some really insane stories in this thing. One of them, gosh, I wish I had highlighted it. But yeah, basically it was like the ocean floor was swirling, and within the middle of this swirl was a USO. And it's a story that he heard. It's not something he was there for, something that he studied, something that he looked over. He just heard this story, and he puts it in these white papers as trust me, bro. Look at my credentials. Check out all of these things that you don't understand on my lapel here. All of these badges and very honor-driven military stamps of approval. Right here. It's just okay, those are really fancy. They're very impressive, but yeah, no, I'm good. There's a call to action in here, which is very interesting. And speaking of call to actions, I have to pull this up because it was the dumbest thing in the world, and I found it very, very interesting. Someone brought it to my attention. Just say a friend of mine. This disclosure rally in New York City. Let me pop it up to there because I want to zoom in on something here for you guys. So this is a disclosure rally in New York City to thank Senator Chuck Schumer for his shitty bill that didn't pass and nobody voted for. And they're going to be, I guess, in front of his congressional office on 3/21/24. So in a few days, at 780 3rd Avenue between East 48th and 49th Street. Man, that's a nice... Well, of course, it's a congressman, their congressional leader's office. So yeah, it's a nice part of town. And it's set up time is 11 a.m. and it's from 12 to 2. Brought to you by the Citizens for Disclosure Now and the New Paradigm Institute. Citizens for Disclosure Now. Who the hell is that? We'll figure that out. I'm sure we'll look into this. But this is the thing I really found very, very interesting. Designed by Fettuccine Split on X. So this is a rally that Dave Foley's going to, and Jeremy Corbell's like, oh, I might come. Can I come, Dave Foley? And they're all UFO circle jerking each other about this rally. And I'm going to laugh my ass off if it's 40 people. And I'm going to be interested to see what kind of content is pulled out of there. God, I wish I was in New York City. I would love to go to this, man. I told one of my buddies, my dream, I think these days would be to have enough money to travel first class to all of these silly UFO events and conferences and genuinely just go there to ask questions to the believers and the conference speakers and pay the most top dollar VIP pass that I can get to get in there and ask them the most simple yet most difficult questions for them to answer. But it is funny that this rally is basically fettuccine split, Danny Sheehan, the Citizens for Disclosure Now, which sounds like a Matt Ford bullshit thing. So these guys want disclosure so bad that they're willing to follow and endorse and hang out and support a rally at a lawmaker's office for something that failed. But not only that, it was organized and designed by someone who has done nothing but be a reign of terror to people on UFO Twitter. Like a genuinely terrible person. And again, it would not shock me if this guy is the producer for the Good Trouble show. What's his last name again? Wouldn't shock me. Because Fettuccine Split does, artwork and helps out the Good Trouble show, and the Good Trouble show loves their memes that they make out of me and my girlfriend and other people's family members. It's okay to attack family members when you don't believe in UFOs anymore. That's the that's the mantra. That's sort of the standard, and yeah. Wait, why isn't this so funny? You Google the Good Trouble show and nothing comes up. You have to go to YouTube to do it. Oh, Matt Ford. Such a weirdo. Yeah, he's got Lester Nair coming on the show real soon. God, that's gonna be... Or no, he already did the Lester Nair interview. Let me go to the end. All I care about is the stupid credits. Tommy Carey. That's who created the Good Trouble show with Matt Ford. Tommy Carey. I'd love to know who Tommy Carey is and what other roles he plays in the creation and production of the Good Trouble show, Stand for Better, and maybe even Fettuccine Split and this organization and effort to go to a lawmaker's office to thank them instead of organizing, getting together, and demanding transparency and more honesty or specifics. Hey, Chuck Schumer, thanks for the effort, but here's what we suggest you try next time. No, it's just, thank you, Chuck Schumer, thank you. Again, we went over on Friday why, and again, it was because of Kirkpatrick in classified settings telling lawmakers like Gillibrand and Rubio what's really going on, and all of a sudden their support for this is non-existent. But there's no hatred, there's no angst, there's no attacks for those two lawmakers that drummed up all of this UAP support to get all of these dollars to get the Aero office, to get the provisions and the things passed in the NDAA that you guys wanted, that you guys asked for, that Chris Mellon helped draft, that Lou Elizondo had a little say in. I mean, it was obvious, right? And so where were they? They disappeared. Why? Because they got the real classified information on what the hell's happening, and the bigger issue of real intelligence officers believing in UFOs and having access in the intelligence officers that have access to the information that should be able to give them a good idea on whether or not UFOs are real. There are people within those departments, within those levels of access and classification and top secret access that believe UFOs are real. And they will forego professional relationships in that belief, for that belief. It's just funny. This is so funny, man. And yeah, I am so willing to laugh, but I do find it concerning that guys like Dave Foley, you know, are pushing. I guess he doesn't care at this point. Like, he's doing such great work at this point in his career. Like, it's so good. The work is so good that I don't think it matters. But God, I would love to talk to him, because I think his belief system is really outweighing his intelligence. And I mean, we've seen this happen to a lot of people, and we've now heard about it from Kirkpatrick firsthand about intelligence people, you know, believing it so much that they would, again, forego professional relationships and building of trust because you don't believe in UFOs. And then when you ask that person, well, where's the evidence for it? Where's the non-circumstantial evidence for it? Where's the actual proof? Where's the program? Where's the pieces of the ship? Where are the aliens? Where are the bodies? Where is the sensor data? Show me. I'm willing to listen, but you're just telling me stories that are all connected back to the 40s. Like a lore and a story that's been spun. I just watched Lord of the Rings the other night, the extended version of Return of the King. And this conversation is like that spider cave that Frodo wanders into. It really is, man. It's easy to get lost, and chances are if you wander in, you're never going to come out. You're never going to come out. You're going to get eaten by that spider. And if you don't have good buddies to pull you out, you will get eaten by that spider. But yeah, man, it's shocking. It's shocking to see, but not that shocking because I feel like I was one of those people. I don't consider myself the most intelligent person in the world. How can I? That would be inaccurate and just a very pompous thing to say. But I don't consider myself, the flip side of that is I don't consider myself stupid or dumb or gullible in a lot of ways. I usually can smell bullshit coming from a mile away, and when it comes to UFOs, I ignored a lot of the red flags that I saw along the way until I started doing a show, and then I had to hold myself accountable because I had an audience. I had people that were relying on this information. And when we've dug into this information many, many times in many different forms on the show, it all turns out to be very terrestrial stuff every time. And every time you ask any one of these guys for evidence, it's like they look at you with like three heads. And one of the best things I saw this week, it was so great, and I'm so bummed that it took Dogbert this long to pop these out. But he made these wonderful clips to the to the tune of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And with the music, honestly, I don't even know which one is my favorite. All of them are so amazing. God, that is so funny. Such a funny scene. Okay, so here's Elizondo talking in San Marino or Melinda's secret UFO base. Personally, I think this one is the best because this sums up Melinda Leslie so perfectly. I don't think she hears herself sometimes. And I genuinely sat down with Melinda on many occasions trying to wrap my brain around her MyLabs theories. I was as patient and as gentle as I could possibly be with her. And we would sit here for 3 hours just letting her go. And none of it ever made any damn sense. And it's very hard to encapsulate because it's fun to listen to. Like, it's fun to let Melinda Leslie go on for 3 or 4 hours. I can listen to that stuff all day. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's like watching Lord of the Rings for me. I love that fan fiction that she spins with such precision. But when you put it with a Curb Your Enthusiasm score to it, it really cuts through it so well. And I think, Dogbert, you might have stumbled onto something here that I think would be really popular. And it would have endless... You could literally make more episodes of Curb Your Ufology than Curb Your Enthusiasm actually made. With the amount of content that there is that you could do this meme, I guess, with. It's so damn funny, but I wanted to play at least one of these. Let's check this one out, because this was my favorite. Melinda's secret base. I'll probably get flagged for this on copyright, because I know this music is not. Look at this. Oop, let me turn it up for you guys.
Established for us the idea that there is a military connection and a UFO connection.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's so much evidence. So many people have
So
had
much evidence.
run-ins with the military personnel, have seen black jeeps, black helicopters out here are very
black
common. They fly
helicopters.
over here all the time.
Wow.
Where do you think they're coming from? What's their point of origin?
Love this. I don't know where this came from. I have never seen this show, but I love that. So what do you think their point of origin is? Great question.
There's evidence that we have a large military base out here.
Hold on. A large military base.
Yes.
Whoa, wait a second. You're telling me the United States has a large military base in one of its 50 states? Get out of here, Melinda. You get on out of here. Like, I love it. And this guy's like, oh, come on, Melinda. Man, I trim my mustache with my own scissors. Melinda, please don't make me look like a dickhead. I can't remember this guy's name, but yeah, he's one of these UFO guys.
Do you have any personal experience that would support the theory of this base?
Well, yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
Myself and 3 friends, we were actually taken by ETs. We had an alien abduction. Our
Okay.
experience.
Melinda told us this story about her and her 3 friends. Maybe that's one of the first, I don't know if we could go over Melinda Leslie video. God, that'd be actually kind of fun. I think that'd be kind of fun. But she told us this story, man, we just started poking around at that story, and it was just like, she didn't call the police. Nobody came to get fingerprints. Like, it was like, what? Okay, so let me get this straight. Somebody broke into your friend's house, then they came back and they took you. It's wild.
Is that we were handed over by ETs to military personnel. We were taken on like a small van at gunpoint.
Wait a minute, you were taken initially by ETs and then turned over and put into vans and taken by military people?
As crazy as it
somewhere
sounds, but
else.
yes, when we got to the base, there were a lot of other abductees. It wasn't just us. We were put on an exam table and given a bitter fluid to drink that was a memory erasing kind of thing. And that was the last thing I remember happening right before being brought back.
So basically you're saying you believe there's a military alien base in the area that the government is covering up.
Yes.
Where exactly is the entrance into this base?
Do you know where the entrance is?
No, not specifically.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I feel bad for her. She's such a sweet lady. Like, Melinda Leslie is so sweet. Like, I just picture her baking cookies and being the best grandma or aunt or mom. But man, she has got this one very kooky belief that she has based around her whole life. And to a point where she does Star Tours at night. Like, it's her whole personality now. And when you poke holes into it with simple questions like, okay, so where exactly is the entrance to this top secret alien base? I don't know. Okay, great. And you're saying aliens abducted you, then met up with the military to hand you off to them so then they could run their experiments on you and put you back to where the aliens took you from? No, that did not happen to you. That did not happen to you. I'm sorry. Love you to death, Melinda Leslie, but that didn't happen to you. I don't care what you say your truth is. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. I do believe that somebody might have abducted you and inserted memories into your head and made you think that this happened. Or I know she lives in Sedona, if I'm not mistaken, which is a very, it's almost a hippie commune. So, you know, again, like usually, and Emily Louise goes over this really well. She talks about one of the biggest things that abductees, the thing in common that they all have is all of them, almost all of them, have been to a hypnotherapist. Almost all of them. And there are a lot of people out there that are very unknowingly accepted to hypnotherapy. And it's very simple to implant thoughts and memories into people's minds, or to encourage a belief that maybe they already have themselves. Especially if you're a new age hypnotherapist who believes in alien visitation, you're probably going to encourage that person's memory into something more fantastical than it actually was, and in effect causing more damage. And I think, like, if this is my grandma or mom, I'd be mortified. And I would try and have the most serious conversation I could with my mother. If this was my mom. Like, I would feel, I'd be, man, I just think about myself. Like, you know, because I've done the same thing. Not the same thing. You know, I did not to say anywhere near the same thing, but this idea of just like blind belief, you know, like, no, there's nothing you're going to say that's going to get me off this, man. Nothing you're going to say. Yeah, it's a good argument, but you're just being a hater. Yeah, it's funny, man. It is funny. And he does one with Lou Elizondo. And this one is interesting.
Meet you, Mr.
Because
Elizondo.
again, I've told the story here, and I don't think a lot of people were paying attention about this story. But Max Moskovich told me this story about this meeting in San Marino, and how this meeting in San Marino completely turned off Max Moskovich to the UFO discussion. He stopped doing it for months because he found out in one question that Lou Elizondo was full of shit. Full of shit. And he's like, oh my God, this guy's fucking with me. And he stopped covering the topic completely. One of the things he told me about this meeting was how Lou's hair was freshly dyed as if he had done it himself, and the line was so crisp on his on his haircut here. But one of the things he told me that really stood out was how he was dressed when he first met him. And Max said it was like he compared it to a Mr. Potato Head doll. He goes, Lou, have you ever seen a Mr. Potato Head? I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, it was as my daughter took a Mr. Potato Head, but instead of a Mr. Potato Head, it was a Lou Elizondo, and just dressed him. Because when I first met him in San Marino, it was hot. Look at what Max is wearing. He's wearing a t-shirt. You know, it was a really hot day. People, tourists in the back are wearing, you know, shorts. Like, it is summer in San Marino. And Lou Elizondo here, he's wearing a really tight dress suit and button-up shirt. So it's, you know, dress slacks, like, but he said when he first met him, without the cameras and all that stuff, he looked like a Mr. Potato Head doll because nothing matched. He had this tweed jacket. He said he was smoking, not a cigar, out of a pipe, like a Sherlock Holmes pipe. He was like, it was just so, in his hair, like the color of his hair was jet black. And it was like when he was sweating, it was like the sweat was black, he said. He said it was a very sort of, he was taken aback by, oh my God, this is the guy? Like, this is the guy I've been talking to and doing an interview? This guy? Okay. Weird. Okay. And then they do this interview. This right here, this strolling through
Max,
the
it is a
streets,
true
right?
honor and privilege. Thank you very much.
Why San Marino?
San Marino is a good place, good as place as any. It's a small little area in the middle of Italy. It's been its own country for, you know, since the medieval times.
We're in a historical country and making history by what we are now discussing right here. So to me, there's a lot of symbolism. What do you think? Are we making history right now?
My hope is simply to facilitate a discussion, to provide a prescription how we should have this conversation. World according to Lou Elizondo. This is part of history. Whether it's a good part of history or a bad part of history, make no mistake, it's part of history.
The only thing I think is important, we just need to know what the hell it is.
Right.
I've noticed there's much more hinting towards extraterrestrial. Are we facing a revelation anytime soon that this is not?
He hates this.
That's a great question, Max.
That's a great
these are the
question,
questions that we're asking here today. This is why we're in San Marino.
Yeah.
It's exactly for that reason. We need to start asking those hard questions. You know, we've got a lot of soul searching to do.
Yeah.
Most of the world, most of the universe isn't in here. It's out there.
It's out there.
Yeah.
Right?
And do you believe that? Is it out there?
Is it out there? Yeah.
Well, I think we only have to do is look up and realize it is out there. Little green men from Mars, right?
Yeah. Has there been any point you were actually in danger because of that?
Sure, absolutely. That doesn't scare me a bit.
No.
You know, that's just routine for me. Well, let's go get a cup of
Smoke
coffee, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's go down and
Let's get the hell out of here. I'm out of hell.
San Marino.
This is the best part.
I don't know where it's going to lead. I really don't. You have this great big master plan? No, I don't.
No.
You know, I don't know how to tell you. Surprise. I mean, I don't know where this path leads.
And that is the most honest Lou Elizondo has ever been in any interview. That moment right there. Well, other than the fact that he said he's not a ufologist, he hates ufology, he wants to bash it into a billion pieces, he's just a counterintelligence agent whose bosses told him to use his skills to infiltrate the community that he is now in. Like, other than that, this is, okay, I'll take it back. It's the second most honest moment of Lou Elizondo on film. I mean, dude.
Going to lead. I really don't. You have this great big master plan? No, I don't.
No.
He doesn't.
You know, I don't know how to tell you.
And that's why, you know, I asked Stephen Greenstreet in a space the other night when the report came out after the show, you know, like, and I just wanted Greenstreet to say it and get it out there because I also wanted to dispel this thought that, oh, maybe there's like a double psyop where he's the punching bag for the DOD to put out this narrative, and you know he's really a good guy, and he's actually making America safer by getting the entire military to pay attention to this airspace. And you You talk to the people behind the scenes. You talk to the people that have closely worked with him. You see the people who have defected from him, not just me, but McGowan, Greenstreet himself, John Greenwald. Like, there have been a lot of journalists and reporters that have been attacked by him after very simple, mundane interviews, you know, and because they don't believe him, or they start asking better questions, that's when he cuts you off. That's when he kicks you out. And that idea of him being like this double agent and doing this for good, no, he's not. He's not. He's not. I wish he was. And if ever a day comes where that is the case and that can be proven, I'll do apologies all day. All day, every show. Mondays and Fridays, 3 to 5. I'll do apologies the whole time. But I don't think that's coming. I really, really don't. And I think this clip says it all. It's like, he's got no plan. Like, there is no plan to this. There is no thought process.
I don't know what's
He's
going to
winging
be. I really don't. Really, you have this great big master plan? No, I don't.
No.
You know, I don't know how to tell you. Surprise. I mean, I don't know where this path leads.
And again, like, when you talk to producers, you just talk to people who've been close to him. It's an unorganized mess when you get close to it. And so unorganized, it's so silly. It contradicts each other all the time. And it's too disorganized for this to be organized, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's see here. There was, I think I'm on my regular timeline here. I completely went off track. Okay, so yeah, anyway, Tim Galladay in his white papers, kind of basically boring, but yeah, if you want to go read it, go check it out. I don't think there's anything significant in here. I think it's a bunch of trust me bros and recommendations on what people should do with underwater UAPs, which he calls USOs. He didn't call them that. That's always been around. But yeah, he leads with a Jules Verne quote, which is like, okay, you know, the name of the white paper is Beneath the Surface. We may learn more about UAP by looking into the ocean. And again, like, this is an opinion piece coming from Rear Admiral General Tim Galladay, who is basically a weatherman in the U.S. Navy. He looked at weather. He was never on submarines. He was never, you know, like, I don't think in any danger anyway. I could be wrong. But the point is that he has admitted he's never seen or been read in on or has never had firsthand experience in USOs. In seeing them, tracking them, hearing them, being there when it happened. Like, he's never been part of that ever. And so, but he's got a strong opinion on them being in the water. And we've got a better shot at finding aliens in the oceans than we do in the skies. So that's basically the white papers. This is the article I really wanted to talk about. So this was put out by Tyler Rogaway, and I'm going to go ahead after the show include the link to this article in the description below. But Tyler Rogaway, for the last 2 years here in the Warzone, which is essentially a military, intelligence magazine. They cover all sorts of stuff, from air, sea, land, space, nuclear, basically all aspects of the branches of military. They report on all sorts of, if you really are a military junkie, this is the place to go. And Tyler Rogaway is one of the best reporters on this topic out there. He has reported on a lot of things, but one of his best pieces that I read 2 years ago, and he's been laying out this theory here now for the last 2 years, and I think with this report from Arrow and Kirkpatrick doing his op-eds and his interviews, that this picture is becoming clearer and clearer, and that this theory of Tyler Rogaway and Stephen Greenstreet was correct. That adversarial drones are spying on the U.S. and the Pentagon acts like they're UFOs. That's the name of the article, And so there are many reasons why, the Pentagon acts like these things are UFOs, and they're not. And Again, this is not an article I'm going to read the whole thing on, but I highly recommend you guys checking it out. Again, he talks about drone swarm systems and how these drone swarm systems, again, could be used in all sorts of very malicious ways. And, you know, he's the one who laid out the idea of these drones being made to look weird on purpose, so that way nobody reports them. Nobody reports them. The weirder you make it, the more guarantee you have that no one will say a thing about it or report it up the chain. And now the military is literally in one foul swoop, like the DOD is correcting 50, 60 years, 70 years of stigma with the wave of a wand, where you have to now report all of these things. And, you know, he uses these examples, the flying pyramids, the transmedium craft he's talked about. In other words, like submarines have the capability of launching drones from under the water that go into the air. And I would bet some of them can even maybe go into space. As silly and crazy as that sounds, it would not shock me, and then deliver payloads into certain exact, very precise payloads in anywhere in the world if it wanted to. So that would technically be a transmedium craft, where it goes from from sea to air to space and back. And those things are real. That's real technology. This radar reflector here that everyone said was a radar reflector. It is not a radar reflector. It is a highly maneuverable drone. That was admitted by Sean Kirkpatrick in the DOD. So you guys say they haven't given us anything. That's just not accurate. They have. And these stupid green pyramids, which is the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about. But yeah, we'll get into it in a second here. And that's the Jeremy Corbell clip with Jay Stratton. You know, there are, so many, like nearly 2 years ago, I wrote a widely circulated piece that addressed my thoughts on the Pentagon's sudden willingness to talk about UFOs and its potential implications. I went through the possibilities as I saw them, but above all else, it was clear that this wasn't some overhyped myth. Something strange was indeed going on. Soon after, we were the first to connect by key technologies that had emerged around the same time that sightings of certain types of mysterious UAP began to accelerate amongst military personnel, in particular Navy fighter pilots. This was largely based around new air defense data fusion and networking capabilities being installed on Navy warships and aircraft, as well as the proliferation of active electronically scanned array radars on Navy and airborne early warning and control planes. We also noted that most of the remarkable appearances of these objects seem to correlate with major Navy exercises where these advances in air defense capabilities were fully being integrated across a carrier strike group. In other words, it seemed that these mysterious craft had very keen interest in America's latest and greatest operational counter-air capabilities. When we got clarification from the pilot witness on key claims about what they and their squadron mates had experienced before pursuing what was an inconvenient hypothesis for many, that at least some of what these air crews and vessels were encountering were not an exotic, unexplained phenomenon at all, but were in fact adversary drones in lighter-than-air platform balloons, meant to stimulate America's most capable air defense systems and collect extremely high-quality electronic intelligence data on them. And this is critical data, incidentally, that is very hard to reliably obtain otherwise. So these things are everywhere, and there's at least anywhere from 90 to 110 of them reported every single month. This is a problem. And I'm telling you, the other Arrow reports that are coming are just going to clarify this even more and more and more and more. But again, I think the big story that's being missed, not by Tyler Rogaway, not by Stephen Greenstreet, but by pretty much everyone else, is this idea that this was a huge mistake on the part of the Department of Defense, and that America is really, really has been taken advantage of by our adversaries in our country, not overseas in some, operation or port or military base somewhere else. Here in the United States, these things are showing up over our nuclear facilities. They're showing up over our fleets of carriers and submarines, and they are collecting the most sensitive data on our operations, how we conduct tests, what we're testing, how we communicate. Like, these are all really important things if you're trying to disrupt the process of the United States and how it operates. And again, like, you get this idea, we talked about on Friday, the idea of Iran, Russia, and China all getting together and developing a drone and testing it here. Like, when you think of it, oh, well, maybe it's aliens. Like, there's always that hope of, well, they could be here for good reasons. If it's an Iranian, Russian, Chinese collab, that thing is definitely not here for good reasons. And so that to me is scarier. And so when you, again, like, now in retrospect, you could go back to that comment that Marco Rubio said a few years back, where he's like, I think it's scarier if it's Russia, China, or Iran. Now, amplify that if it's all three of them working together and all three of them collecting and sharing intelligence on our most sensitive tests and hardware. It's a problem. It's a problem. And the UFO addicts and heads are ignoring the biggest issue in the room right now. And it's not aliens, guys. It's not aliens. I highly recommend, let me go ahead and copy this link. I'm going to put it in the chat so you guys can go read it for yourselves. It's an op-ed. I mean, this thing is long. All of Tyler Rogaway's articles are a 30-minute read, so prepare to read a lot. But it's worth it. It will inform you on this topic, I think, better than any book, any podcast, any space, including this one. Honestly, like, if you want to catch up on everything that's happening and what this UFO discussion is about, go read this article from Tyler Rogaway, but also go read his past work, especially from 2 years ago, because he's been painting this picture beautifully. And honestly, it's the best reporting I've seen on the topic. Hands down. Better than anyone. And I think he does a great job of being incredibly neutral. He doesn't put his nose into the UFO Twitter. So I think he's the perfect neutral person to report on this and talk about this in a very smart, intelligent, rational way where I think people go, oh, shit. Like, this should be an op-ed in the New York Times. This should be front page Washington Post. That our Department of Defense has fucked up. Big time. Big time. And this is how. And this is why. And this is why you as Americans are less safe. And this is why you as Americans should be aware of what's above you. Look up. Like, now it's a see something, say something kind of deal. Like, I remember living in New York. You'd go in the subway and you'd always see these signs say, if you see something suspicious, just report it. Say something to, either one of the MTA members, or if you see a police officer, which was pretty common in the subway, report it to a police officer. Hey, there's a backpack that somebody left under a bench over there, or a suspicious package, or whatever the thing is. And I'm sure that awareness saved lives. And I think it's the same with this too. I think the United States should really, after this, obviously, I think the first people that need to be alerted is the military. And everybody needs to get on the same page on how to report this, where it goes, how quickly, who's going to cover it, who's going to look at it, and how it's going to be disseminated. So I think that process is clear as day. We got it now, thanks to D.D. Johnson's FOIA request. Then you can look the American people in the eye and say, okay, look, here's what's going on. here's what's happening. This is what our adversaries are doing. This is what you need to look for. If you do see something, I think there should be a national call center for regular civilians to call in and report something that they see that is very unknown, just like they laid out for their military personnel. I think that's a very, look, if you think it's a plane, or if it's not displaying crazy movements or something that you don't recognize as a helicopter or an airplane, here's the number you could call to report it. And I think it's very simple to build, a data center or a response center that is AI generated, and where it can say, okay, here's where they're calling from, here's where the event took place, a military base that's close to it, cross-reference that military base with maybe any testing or flights that are happening at that same time. We could cross-reference things, space satellites, weather balloon systems, testings. We could correlate all sorts of stuff, and maybe not come back to that person with, okay, hey, we figured it out, or maybe we do. You get a call back. Okay, here's what our information told us. It was a testing of a certain rocket or missile. That information is classified. We're not allowed to tell you about that, but just know it wasn't an alien spaceship. Thank you for reporting it. And if you see anything in the future, please tell us, because these things are helpful, because sometimes it's not a test. Sometimes it is something very dangerous that we need to be aware of. So if you see something, say something. I think that's a policy. Don't be shocked if there are national campaigns in the near future for stuff like this, especially. And again, I keep saying this over and over and over and over and over again. And Rogaway sort of hints at this. He hints at this definitely in his first articles, but he hints at this, he's got some really great images here to sort of give you an idea. But this drone swarm, now imagine this drone right here strapped with C4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them are all connected. And that's just one swarm. Now imagine you have 50 swarms. And you fly that into a power grid, or a nuclear facility, or an aircraft carrier, or a public building, or Times Square. Like, when that happens, and it will, that's just the world we're stepping into right now. When it happens, that's when you'll see these national campaigns and this awareness. And then that's when people will be like, what the hell's going on? And the Department of Defense could go, well, back in 2019, 2020, we started seeing this coming, and we wrote the laws and put the stuff in place. And right now we're kind of playing catch up, and that's how this one slipped through. But we promise we're not going to let any more slip through. And if you as an American citizen see anything suspicious that fits this kind of description, please report it to your local authorities or to a national data collection center. And I think that's when you're going to have companies like Enigma step in and be like, hey, we can take care of that part for you. We've already got the system in place. Check it out. Give us a couple of billions of dollars or a few $1 million, and we'll do it for you guys. We'll do the data collection for you guys. And that's where Gary Nolan, like, all of this shit is starting to connect and make sense. We should seriously put like a fucking conspiracy board with red yarn and everything. Like, that's where Gary Nolan says that the when he was at that investment raising conference in New York City, the SALT Foundation conference or whatever, with the SALT conference, where he was looking for investors, and he said he saw, so I'm paraphrasing here, but something of like an explosion of interest and basically wealth within this field of collecting data on these anomalies. And he knows damn well it's not going to be looking for UFOs or getting reports. It's going to be this stuff. It's going to be drone swarms, like, and that's a terrifying idea. Like, I could not imagine, the water aquifer in New York being hit by 80 of these things. or the water that connects from Northern California that connects water to places in Vegas, and there's all sorts of water that runs from the north into Los Angeles and San Francisco and Las Vegas, and disrupting those pipes and those systems. Man, Jesus, that would cause havoc, and that's simple. I mean, a few months ago here in Los Angeles, the 10 caught on fire from a bunch of pallets under and really homeless shelters underneath the bridge of the 10, or the freeway that is the 10 here in Los Angeles, and they had to shut it down for almost a week, and they were afraid that it was going to be longer, and it wreaked havoc on the infrastructure. That was 5 days. Now, this is not a fire. Imagine exploding the 10 with just one swarm of these things. One swarm. Imagine 2 or 5 or 10. Okay, and somebody sent me this the other day. So, that's not that scary, Lou. Okay, if you think so, if you don't think that's a real thing, or something that is more on the radar of the intelligence communities, and they're ignoring the UFO thing, I think you're wrong. Especially, God, this internet is killing me. Oh, by the way, guys, room is open, so if you guys want to call in, you could start calling in now. If you feel like, if you got a question or whatever, definitely call in. But there is, somebody sent me this, and I thought this was really cool. Sent it to my other account, and then I tagged myself in it for this account. Where is it? Oh, wait. It's in my notifications, I think. A lot of funny stuff on the internet today. But you know what's not funny? Slow internet. And what's funny? No, I don't know why I keep saying, what's funny? It's not funny. But what I tested the internet speed before the show, and it was really fast. But yet it's really slow. Just so slow. Where is this drone? That's somebody tagged me in it, so it's gotta be in here. This is painful. Really? Did I bookmark it? Dude. Internet, you are killing me. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Cut that feed there. Maybe we can get a little more bandwidth here. You know what? I know for sure I tagged myself in it, and now it's not coming up. So I'll just go to my other account. But I thought this was really cool because it was essentially a drone swarm creating a very awesome image in the sky and doing it at some pretty incredible speeds, or what appears to be incredible speeds. Could be maybe the film was sped up, but we'll take a look at it again once it loads up. For God's sakes. So slow. Here we go. So 3 horses spotted flying on the top of maiden race course preparing for the Dubai World Cup. And yeah, this looks like it's in real time. Good Lord, look at this. This is crazy. Okay, now imagine all of these little drones strapped with C4, or strapped with anthrax, or strapped with just something, an electronic EMP device. I mean, look at this. That's pretty wild. And that's, again, this is not being sped up. You can tell because of the people in the background holding up and checking it out. Unless this is CGI. This could be CGI. Maybe it's not. It's so tough. This one guy here. I'm looking at people holding their phones. One guy's holding it up to the sky. Let's see. Are they following the horse through the sky? No, they're not. They're filming something else. Yeah, I don't think that's real. Now that I'm looking at it. I don't think that's real. I think they're paying attention to the horses here, or the actual horses in the race. I think doing this during an actual race would be probably pretty dangerous now that I'm thinking about it and I'm looking at it. And that's great. Like watching this shit in real time and figuring it out. But here's 1,500 drones on Shenzhen Dragon 2023. Yeah, don't need that music to go along with that. And this is sped up. So this, you can tell by the, this is a lot slower because this is a time lapse. You can tell by the planes going off in the back that this is a really slow thing. What we see happening in 20 seconds probably takes, 2 or 3 minutes to pull off. But yeah, you can tell by the lights and the traffic and that this is sped up. But still, I think you see the point. And these are commercial drones. These aren't military grade drones that fly at way higher speeds than this. I think if you put a bunch of light on those drones, you wouldn't need to speed up the footage. I think with those drones, you'd be able to make a dragon look really fucking cool. But yeah, so like something to think about. And Tyler Rogaway does an incredible job. Again, I included this link in the live chat. I'm going to include it in the show notes as soon as the show is over, so you guys can go read this, but highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time left. I wanted to really quickly, just the last thing. I hope I bookmarked
vehicles and other things out there, but it is not like it's not like we're
no, not yet. So there was this moment where I was just like, Jay, Project Unity, why are you doing that? Like, why are you doing this, man? And this is the stuff that he does that just it just pisses me off. It just upsets me because it's just like this. Oh, isn't this mysterious? I always put Project Unity. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. So he tweets out 5 hours ago. James Webb Telescope confirms there is something seriously wrong with our understanding of the universe. No link, no nothing, just this picture. It's very, very spooky, mysterious. And then he adds the link for the article about what he's referencing here. And it wasn't posted at the same time. It was posted like an hour after he did the original post. But just like this idea of like, oh my God, the James Webb, what's happening? Just to grab the attention. And then you get the article and it's basically confirms the James Webb Telescope confirms there's something seriously wrong with the understanding of the universe. And astronomers have used the James Webb Telescope to confirm one of the most troubling conundrums in all of physics, and that is that the universe appears to be expanding at bafflingly different speeds depending on where we look. So that's interesting. That's wild, but it's like, I don't know, man. Just coming from him, it's just like, come on, dude. Like, how does this support your theory? Any of your theories of orbs or anything like that? And I'm not saying he said that, but it's just like the mystery of it is sort of inferring that, oh my God, James Webb Telescope has found something alien, you know, or some truth that is going to, you know, expand human consciousness or understanding. And it's just like, yeah, we kind of knew the universe was expanding. It's very interesting to know that it's expanding at different speeds. That's wild. Why is that? I don't know. Could it be one of those things where it's like observing a molecule or a particle? You know, when it's under observation, it goes through the slits, and when it's not under observation, it goes through whatever, you know, goes through everything. So, like, it could be one of those things. Who knows? Like, it's been proven that especially particles act differently when they're under observation. It seems like, anyway. So maybe the universe is the same thing, where it depending on where you're looking at it from, it might come across differently than somebody else looking at it from a different angle. I don't know. It's pretty wild. But either way, it's a cool story. I was just like, I'm just a little annoyed at the idea of like, oh man, James Webb Telescope, it found something amazing. And it's just like, yeah, it's amazing, but you know, I don't know. I guess it was just all the inference that comes out of this. I was just like, come on, man. Like, it almost felt like a little bit of a tease. And okay, so we got that one. Okay, so this is the last thing I had on the docket to talk about, and I'll go ahead and check. Okay, nobody's there. We will. Let me go to David Grush here. So again, this is I want to go ahead and put up our fair use banner here. The fair use, this is transformative work. We are educating the public on the video and sound clips we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and allowable by law. Let's listen to what this guy has to say, David Morehouse, who, according to the description here, David Morehouse was assigned to several highly classified special access programs in the U.S. Army's Intelligence Security Command and the Defense Intelligence Agency's Directorate of Science and Technology as a top secret psychic spy and remote viewer. Okay, so let's listen to what he's got to say about whistleblower David Grush.
What is your opinion on this David Grush fella?
And again, I've got the link to this whole interview in the description below, so check it out.
The one everybody's calling a whistleblower?
Yes. And he's talking about, he just recently went to New York and did some talk at some penthouse for some billionaire.
Okay, he recently went to New York and did a talk at a penthouse, a billionaire's penthouse. You could bet your ass David Grush got paid to do that. And he probably got paid a handsome amount to do a private talk for a billionaire. I would assume at the very least $20K. The very least. And room and board and some sort of stipend for food and expenses. It's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money for one afternoon. That's an interesting detail that probably wasn't very... I didn't hear that. Danny Jones did, because he's in the circles of and rubbing elbows with the billionaires. They're like, yo, bro, we got David Grush coming to the penthouse. You want to come over? Nah, man, I can't. I'm in Pennsylvania skiing with the family. You know, like whatever it is. Dude, that's crazy.
Talking about how he saw a craft that looked like it was 40 feet from the outside, and as soon as you go inside the craft, it's as big as a football field.
Amazing. So now we know that David Grush is telling different stories in private versus what he says in public in front of Congress. So in private, when you pay him to come to your penthouse, he'll tell you about a craft that resembles the tent in Harry Potter, you know, Order of the Phoenix, where you walk into the tent and it look on the outside, it just looks like a regular old run-of-the-mill tent. But as soon as you walk in, it's a fucking banquet hall. It's so big. So that's what David Grush is doing at private billionaire penthouses. fuck, man. What a douchebag. Straight up. What a douche. What a douche. No, you don't get to hear that story unless you pay him to come over. And he's like, fuck, dude, this guy's going to pay me $50K to come chill at his house for a couple days. I got to come with something good. Probably watched Harry Potter over the weekend. I can just imagine Dave Grush being a massive Harry Potter fan. I can totally see that. No, and that's not a knock. I'm a massive Harry Potter fan too. But to take Harry Potter lore and take it to a billionaire's penthouse and sell it as truth, that's something I don't think I'd do. But I'm not you, Dave Grush. But it's wild. And it's, I'm sure, something that Danny Jones wasn't intending to put out there, that there is a special group of people that he will tell secrets to for the right price. You guys think there's no money in this? You're fucking crazy. You're crazy. Like, you're crazy.
He's saying all kinds of crazy stuff, and there's off-planet beings.
The rise of the con, man. It's like people can say anything. Man. First of all, he's not a whistleblower. Okay,
Thank you.
That when people
fucking, he's not a whistleblower. Not a whistleblower. Thank you.
Start calling people that are doing what he's doing whistleblowing. What he is a purveyor of hearsay.
He's a purveyor of hearsay. Perfect. He's a self-licking ice cream cone.
Because, only a few intelligent interviewers in listening to him rant on about, I know that, we have captured alien craft. I know that we have alien bodies. And a few intelligent interviewers have said, have you seen these? Well, no. Then how do you know? Well, I have some colleagues who are trusted sources who do have personal knowledge of these things. And if they're telling me that, that's what who are these people? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So now all you are is a hearsay peddler.
Right.
You're standing up, expressing some degree of narcissistic, sociopathic tendency. Some might even say pathological. So
wow. You got a member of the CIA calling this guy pathological. It's tough because he's a CIA guy. It's like, oh man.
All right.
Whoa, what happened? No.
All right. What is your documents?
But it's also funny that David Grush is also talking about
do have personal knowledge of
space aliens and bodies and shit at again billionaires' penthouse.
These
Such
things,
a
and
jerk.
if they're telling me that, that's what I'm. Who are these people? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, there you go. So now all you are is a hearsay peddler. You're standing up, expressing some degree of narcissistic, sociopathic tendency. Some might even say pathological. So you can get your face on a camera. You get this endearing public supporting you in what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you have no proof, no evidence. And the fact that you claim somebody told you something, frankly,
Trust me,
just doesn't pass the litmus test for us. And we have to be discerning about these things. Anybody can stand up today and say anything. And the number of people who will actually turn around and go, I think that's bullshit, is minimal. Because everybody else wants to chime in on it, especially if you're part of the UFO community. It's just like, David Greer standing up and saying... Stephen Greer, sorry. Yeah. In one of his documentaries, he stands up and stares straight into the camera and says, well, yeah, because of my CE5 protocol, right? Which is a bunch of folks in the desert sitting around in lawn chairs, standing up and, staring up into space and communicating with their mind, right, is what he's saying, following this CE5 protocol, which is nothing more than a meditation. is what it is. And he starts plugging in words like remote viewing and other stuff, right? Trying to dovetail on some of those technologies. And he claims that this was so powerful and so innovative and so amazing. He stood right there on a documentary and said, and oh yeah, after we were doing this and having all this great success, he said that the chief of staff for intelligence, for Army intelligence, scooped him up off of the street in Washington, D.C. and took him to a hotel where at the hotel there were 2 Air Force officers and 2 CIA agents, and that he was roughed up and interrogated, very brutally, or words to that effect, and that they told him, who do you think you are for developing this protocol? We didn't give you permission to communicate with the aliens, et cetera, et cetera. Now, do you believe one word of that? First of all, the chief of staff for Army intelligence is a 3-star general. A 3-star general went out and took his weightlifting steroid ass and stuffed him in the back of a military vehicle and carried him away. No. He didn't say MPs grabbed me. He said the chief of staff of the Army intelligence grabbed him. How does that happen? It doesn't. They don't go take people off the street, and certainly some 3-star general doesn't go do it.
Right.
And he doesn't have a staff to go muscle people around and do something like that. So I would, but nobody asked that question.
Right.
Well, what was his name?
Right. So he's talking about Jesse Michaels. He's talking about, all of these people, News Nation, any one of these lawmakers that have asked him questions. They've all been stupid, surface level, shitty, not to the point questions. And that's why his story never passed the snuff at the Washington Post, because they're like, we're not fucking printing this until we get facts. And Leslie Kane are like, no, we got to do it now. We'll just take it to the brief. Tim McMillan will post it. And he did. And now we've got the mess that we have. And he is a hearsay peddler. Hearsay peddler. A useful idiot, as Joe Rogan said. But there are people who believe him, and he eats it up. He loves that shit. And now he's being invited to the penthouse of billionaires to tell them his top secret knowledge of stuff. And they're paying top dollar to get that invite. I promise you. Dave Crush can now afford the fucking flight to DC to testify. You can go to DC now, Dave. You got the money. Maybe you could get a fucking ticket for Lou Elizondo. He goes to Washington all the time, but he doesn't testify for some reason. Maybe we could get a testimony out of his ass. I doubt it, but that'd be nice. Just amazing.
Who are the guys that helped him, or did he do it by himself? What kind of car was it?
Right.
You say he took you to a hotel.
What hotel?
What hotel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did it have a name?
What floor?
And if you're saying there were 2 Air Force officers in there, how do you know they were Air Force officers?
Right.
Well, if they had uniforms on, they have name tags on.
Right.
And even if they're not wearing their jacket, they have name tags on. Who were they? And what ranks were they? And if CIA agents were there, how do you know they were CIA agents? Did they show you ID? Right? You see, but nobody asked those questions. And the whole UFO community accepts this as truth.
Right.
And it is not. It is not. Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculousness. But here, it's like I said, we are in an age of the rise of the con. You can just stand up and say anything. You can be that preposterous and draw a crowd. There will be an element of the population, just like Itzhak Bentov showed you. Mm-hmm. There will be an element of the population that will believe that just because it was said by a medical doctor. Mm. An emergency medical doctor. I don't think his license is current, but hey.
Who, Greer?
Yeah, I don't think it is, but maybe it is.
It's definitely a lot of culty vibes from a lot of these people in the UFO community, especially people that are monetizing it. People that they're making so much money from people getting, paying for. I think he sells the
CE5 protocol.
Oh, does he really?
Absolutely. And it's, from what I understand, it's pretty pricey. I can't quote the exact price, so I say this, check
damn
me on
pricey.
it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's somewhere around $1,500 for this thing. And I have a copy of it right here. And you'll look at it, and it's just laughable.
What does that mean, CE5 protocol?
It means...
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
It's like from the movie The Third... The thing with Richard Dreyfuss and Devil's Tower. What the hell was the name of that movie? I can't remember it now. It was that movie with Richard Dreyfuss.
How does Danny Jones not know this?
Come
on, Danny, help him.
Potatoes around.
Close Encounters?
Close Encounters.
Yes!
So CE
Close
is
Encounters. Come on, Danny! Your nerd card has been officially revoked, man. You can't let somebody hang that long on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Come on, Danny Jones. Honestly, I think that's pissed me off more than anything else today. I'm kidding. I'm not mad. That was funny.
Encounters of the fifth kind, which is mind communication with aliens. We're calling the spacecraft down. But there are people who actually believe that that's what they're doing. I don't know. Maybe they're out there in this, but they're always going to places where there are known sightings of probably Space Wars craft.
Reese, call in and tell us about that, man. Use the link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. If you want to call in and tell us about how this happened, I'd be interested to listen to it. We've got about 15 minutes left in the show, so if anybody wants to call in, the pin's still up there. Nobody's taking it. You guys get so shy. Anytime it's like, come on, let's do this. For some reason, you're not as shy in spaces. But okay, so I looked into that, by the way, because I want to start doing spaces while we're doing the show, so people can chime in as I'm doing the show. I think it would be a really cool element to it. But there is no third-party app that allows me to do that, to run a space on my desktop, because I've got a Mac. I'm waiting for a plugin to come out. There is a plugin that does it, but it doesn't do it for Mac yet. So, sorry. Unless somebody can point me to a plugin that works on a Mac, that'd be super helpful, but I haven't been able to find one. But yeah, so that's what's going on with that.
Craft being re-entering for landing somewhere and coming in at 18,000 miles per hour or 23,000 miles per hour and doing what they're doing, but they believe that they're calling these craft down into to assembly to present themselves to them. And there are no controls, and they're not trained. They just get this protocol and then they do it. And I'm not trying to be critical of those people doing that. When a person stands up that is supposed to have an intellect that they trust. I mean, when he went into that community, they thought that God had descended down, to be with them, because they had never had a spokesperson that came from, that level of society. They were always, former Air Force this or Air Force that, or somebody else that was willing to step into that position and try to keep that community held together with promises. And, he stepped in making the promise that he was going to rip this up and open it up, and we were going to get some answers. And he, like everybody else, when he soon finds out that that's not going to happen, then you have to start exaggerating
shit
things.
Up. Yeah.
You have to start, throwing up smoke screens. I'll give you another example. He goes to some guy that was in the Air Force.
I'd love to get this guy's opinion on Elizondo or Mellon or Tom DeLonge.
He could have been an officer. He may have been a senior non-commissioned officer. I can't remember. But he actually gets an audience with an Air Force officer in the Pentagon, probably a spokesperson for some staff division there. The implication is that these are the guys that oversee the UFO UAPs, but there's no indication of that whatsoever. It's just if this guy calls up and calls in a favor, somebody, maybe this Air Force major or maybe an Air Force captain, just gets detailed to do that. So he sits down with them and listens to them talk about what their demands are, what they want, and why it should be happening, and they don't understand, and they've been trying. And this Air Force officer prepares what's called a memorandum for record. A memorandum for record is done after every conversation like that. There are probably 5 million memorandums for record, MFRs for short, produced in the Pentagon from every office, from phone calls to staff briefings to interoffice agency communications. MFRs are like corpuscles, you know? It's a lifeblood in the military. It carries information. And so they're rarely classified. And if they are classified, they actually go by another route, because they might say classified, and then every sentence that could be classified, or every paragraph that has classified information would have to have a classification to the left of the paragraph, and then the number, and then the paragraph. But once again, I'm sure what happened is the individual that had the contact probably picked up the phone, called back in there and said, hey, I know you've done an MFR. Or the guy said, look, I'll do an MFR. I'll draft this up and I'll pass it on, which is exactly what he would say. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
With people like Greer and other people in the whole UFO community, I get like a lot of Heaven's Gate vibes. You know, the Heaven's Gate cult.
Absolutely, I know.
Where it convinced all these people to commit suicide, that they were going to ascend to another planet to hang out with aliens.
That might be a little extreme in the comparison, but I get where you're coming from.
It's the same thing, man. It's so culty. It's so culty.
Yeah,
and if you have somebody who has some sort of knowledge that is privileged and they're very charismatic, and you get a bunch of people who together want to believe it, and they're not listening to any sort of like outside logic against it. It's just this cycle of reinforcing bias reinforcement on everything that these people are telling them, and they're paying money. It's like you're in this positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
And I just get that vibe from a lot of things that are happening in this whole UFO community.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's disappointing. I don't necessarily like to tell that story, but I was so insulted by the fact that a man of letters would stand up and say that to people, and I know it is absolutely untrue. It would never happen, but nobody questioned him on that, and I don't like taking on, that kind of persona to talk about that. But part of what I'm trying to say or make a message to people is we have to start listening, and we have to start being discerning. We have to, put things through a litmus test. We have to try to figure out what somebody's saying is.
Because it really is becoming dangerous for national security that people can't get the right information, and now it is literally on you to determine, okay, what's fake, what's good, and is the information I'm receiving a feedback loop of just my own echo chamber? The algorithms are meant to do that. They're meant to get you into those echo chambers so you can watch and consume more. And it's the same thing with the UFO community and a lot of other subcultures. You need to visit the other opposing views subculture to make sure that the information you are getting is good. And if you're blocking out the other stuff because it doesn't make you feel good, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. And that's the difference here is I'll listen to fucking anyone's story. I'll eat that shit up all day, okay? But I'm also going to question the fuck out of you on it. I'm going to question the fuck out of you on it. And I think that's what his advice is here is like, we have to be discerning We have to be able to listen to a guy like Ashton Forbes and go, okay, you're full of shit, and I cannot rely on you for anything when it comes to reliable information. Skyfire News, okay, yeah, the guys who make up your organization are a bunch of fucking scumbags. Sorry, I can't rely on you guys when it comes to good information. You know, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp have shown over and over and over and over and over again that they cannot be trusted, and they are terrible, terrible sources of information. And we didn't even get to the last clip. Maybe we'll cover this stuff on Friday some more a little bit, but I have to get oh damn it, I'm in the wrong profile. I have to get to this Jeremy Corbell clip. Just have to get to it. Here we go. Where are you, Corbell? Your stupid stuff. Dude, is it okay? That's because I'm not in my bookmarks, Lou. Come on, buddy. At least the internet's moving faster. That's good. Okay, so this was interesting. Charlie Weiser put out a tweet, says, interesting, the video shows pyramid-shaped craft is a litmus test for being in the cult. He's right about one thing, though. He needs a break. And this is Joe Murgia. This is a reply to Joe Murgia, who wrote, yes, because you know more than the 3 optical physicists, right? And you had access to the other data/sensors they mentioned. Give me a break. You know, this is Joe Murgia defending this stuff right here. And this is the kind of stuff that he, you know, he just loves, man. He loves defending Jeremy Corbell no matter what. And this is where all of this comes from. This one clip right here. Listen to this. Listen, this is just, damn it, this is so interesting.
The following is a clip from an exclusive interview with John F. Stratton, former senior intelligence official and head of the UAP task force.
The green footage.
And believer and cult member and werewolf seer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, guy's seen a lot of crazy stuff, but listen to this.
From the USS Russell, which you know that George and I obtained and released. So you know somebody filmed a screen and shouldn't have done that, but that's not me, it's journalists, there's shield law. Obtained and released, but you've seen it, they played it in Congress, yep. Right? Okay. The question about that is, was that, to the best of your knowledge, is that a camera artifact of the iris? The shape that you see in the green footage, we'll call it green, is that an artifact of the iris?
Okay, so again, if you guys don't know, if you're catching up, Mick West has debunked the pyramid video. It's an artifact from the iris called bokeh, and it creates this unfocused image of triangles, and you'll notice in the video that everything that's out of focus looks just like a triangle. What they're filming are drones, and they're coming across with this effect as these flying pyramids. But listen to Jay Stratton's answer, and look at the look on his face. Like, they are so careful in the way that they answer this, but this is just amazing, and it's a pretty stupid answer.
To my knowledge, based on 3 PhDs.
3 PhDs.
It is
who? What PhDs? What do they hold PhDs in? What schools do they go to? What programs do they work for? Who are they? What 3 PhDs? Just trust me, bro. 3 PhDs looked at this video.
The shape in that video is the shape that you're seeing, and that it is a pyramid, and that it is...
That's not the shape we're seeing. We're seeing a triangle. We cannot get a pyramid shape because there's no dimension in a 2D video, Jay Stratton. I don't know why you guys are getting pyramid out of that video. There's nothing on that video that says, oh my God, there's no rotation to show the 3-dimensional pyramid. There's none of that shit. There's just FAA blinking lights on it.
It's self-illuminating.
It's a what?
It's that illumination is coming from the object itself. That's my understanding based on, you know, what I had from the task force.
You got 3 PhDs?
Oh, well, that's my understanding on what we got from the task force. So I'm just trusting something somebody else said.
We said 3 PhDs. You got 3 PhDs? You got 3 PhD people to look at it?
I got 3 PhD people to look at it. Yeah.
Were they like optical physicists?
Yes.
They were optical physicists. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Optical physicists. That's it, Jeremy. Because we spoke about this earlier, so you know how to ask that question. Yes, they were optical physicists. 3 of them. 3 optical physicists that were on the UAPTF task force. I'm dying to know who these 3 optical physicists were.
But why go so far to show one video instead of 3 other videos that are out in the public that are corroborative visual evidence of one event, and then say they're drones? And I know who named them drones. So why did they do that?
I don't know.
Fair to say, if it was a known U.S. technology,
I would have admitted that, right?
Right.
I said it was unknown.
Amazing. Just the way that Jeremy Corbell is like, right? We talked about this. You're going to say the thing that I'm setting you up for, T-ball. You're going to hit it, right, Jay? And he does every time. Sure do, Jeremy. Yep, 3 optical physicists. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. It's real. Those are pyramids, even though we cannot confirm that whatsoever. At all. And every optical illusion or professional or video professional that has taken the time to look at it and put their name to their work has said, yeah, it's bokeh. That's a lens effect. And the only people digging in their heels are Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Jay Stratton, and Joe Mergia. Good luck with that fucking list, Dave Foley. You're an idiot. I love your acting to death. I respect your comedy to no other level, but you're a fucking idiot when it comes to this topic. You're so fucking stupid. And the people you surround yourself with are the proof of that. You have bought in hook, line, and sinker. You were a cult member, and now you're about to become a cult leader. The event, that's hosted and organized by a bunch of fucking cult maniacs. That's what you're that's what you're attaching your resume and your professional history, your amazing career. That's what you're attaching it to. A bunch of fucking cult members. And harassers. And this was interesting. This happened over the weekend. And I'm going to get to this. I'm going to bookmark this, and we'll get to it on Friday. We'll talk about this on Friday because I want to do more research on this. So I'm sorry I didn't get to this today, but this will be the last thing I wanted to talk about. Just real quick. Oh, God, there's 2 things. Okay. So Kimball, who I've done a space with, he's a pretty avid believer, but he got played pretty hard by this UFO cult group over the weekend, and I just thought it was interesting because it hit a lot of very similar notes to stuff that I've seen him do to other people. But he writes, imagine if there was the first time Claus tried to smear a person acting in good faith, LOL. Patterns do tell stories. Tiny Claus, who's, friends with Matt Ford and buddies with the Joe Mergias and, the UFO podcasts and, the milk farts and the UAP mics. Like, they love this guy. He's a carnival barks at his lackeys to troll anyone who criticizes him. What's odd is that in this case, I've only been critical of his partner, Ray, me and the moon, and tags whoever this person is. I'm not sure if I've ever actually criticized Claus, and I've enjoyed what I've heard of his and Garrett's podcast. Anyway, the pattern is intimidation tactics and reputation attacks by the spreading of false narratives via trolls and sock accounts. The story, I don't know, but probably just maladjusted UFO folks on the internet. If Ray wants to take accountability for the part she played in this against me last year, she can, but another pattern is accountability for 3, not me attitude. Or the accountability for thee, not me attitude. And yes, I made some embarrassing locker room jokes and sent internet porn with some other dudes in a private DM group a year ago, which leaked and which I've already addressed. God, that's embarrassing. And that sucks. But, I want to say I've been there, but I get it. And it's embarrassing when it's sharing what you think are funny jokes or memes or internet porn with buddies. Like, men do weird shit when they get together. And I'm not excusing this, but, it's a private DM group and somebody, because they got mad at you or you said something about their UFO belief, took that stuff and put it out of context for everybody to see. And so, of course, he gets attacked. He gets, humiliated by these people who organize, like they go after you, and they go after this thing that you did instead of the facts that you bring up. Aside from that, this narrative that I'm a predatory harasser preying on newcomers is ridiculous, and that is ridiculous. I could just say for Kimball, like, he is an avid believer, but he's taken the time to actually have a conversation with me. And I think in parts of that conversation, he was actually starting to be like, shit, dude, you're making a lot of sense. But then, like with a lot of believers, the belief system kicks in and that takes over. And then it's very difficult to try and get him to come back to reason. But he flirts with rationality and reason, and guys like Tiny Claws and all these UAP bullies, UFO bullies in this subculture that, Dave Foley's going to go hang out with this in a couple of days. This is what they do. This is how they deal with people. They find anything they can on them, and then they put it into a context where it makes them look like disgusting human beings, and that you cannot trust anything they say because of this thing. And it's such crazy bullshit, but it's wild to say, that he preys on newcomers. He doesn't. Like, he'll have a conversation with pretty much anyone. And at least when I did his space, I was treated with respect by him. People who come into the space, he can't control those people. So that's not his fault, but I'm not here. This is happening. Donated $1.99 through Super Chat. Dave Foley is this cult's Tom Cruise. That's a good comparison. I think you're right. He's getting close. But the last thing that he writes here, also, if you want to back up the BS you're concocting about me with some evidence, well, show me your evidence. I'll show you mine. I acknowledge when I screw up, and I understand none of us are perfect. I'm willing to let things go. But thus far, there simply seems to be a lack of honesty, not to mention humanity. And that's what, Tiny Claus does. And he wrote, because I'm sure at UFO intros and Kimball, who's the same person, he blocked Claus, and Claus wrote, "The dude who runs this account is a sloppy, drunken pervert who becomes obsessed with the women he harasses. He targets newcomers who aren't aware he's a stalker, and I'd urge people to avoid him and his enablers. I've got more than enough proof if anyone doubts what I'm saying." And, this is another tactic they do, and this is something that UAP Mike has been caught doing, where his wife will slip into people's DMs and flirt with them on purpose, take screenshots of those flirts, and say that they're predators. And she cries victim. Oh, he's such a pervert. He tried to hook up with me. He tried to flirt with me on DMs. He tried to slip into my DM. And Joyce, no offense, you're not a very good-looking woman. Like, nobody's slipping into your DMs. I think she engages a lot of these people, and they've been called out on it publicly. Like, they've been busted in this kind of behavior. So, like, it doesn't shock me if there are other people out there like Joyce Boyle and Mike Boyle and Claus who when they find somebody who might be on the fence, they will send people to gather as much intel and take as many screenshots as they can. So that way, when they do pick a side or say something that's on the wrong side of that fence, they will take those screenshots, put a post like what Klaus just did, and then claim you're the pervert who becomes obsessed with women that he harasses. And that's what they do. And then they'll take a screenshot of a DM you sent to Joyce or whatever, and boom, you're a pervert. Thank God I never talked to that crazy woman. Thank God I never DM'd that nutball. And again, these are people who have made memes out of my family, out of my girlfriend. These are people who are just fucking gross, man. They're so fucking gross. And when you call them out or you snap back, they play victim and cry wolf. That's the move every single time. And when you get them face to face in front of you and you ask them actual questions on the claims and the bullshit they say, it's met with a bunch of silence and that's not what I meant. What I meant, no, that's what you said. So that's what you fucking meant. So stick by what you said, asshole. They can never do that. They can never do that. They just can't. They're incapable of it. Anyway, that's a show, you guys. that is the show. I wanted to, there was one other thing real here. Yeah, Danny Sheehan has said some crazy shit, but this is probably some of the craziest shit he's ever said. And we'll end on this as almost like a moment of zen. Let me get some tunes going. And yeah, we'll end the show on this one because this is pretty damn good. Let me put that down and then I'll put this up. All right, here we go.
The abduction issue is a significant issue because it violates so many of the basic ethical principles of our human family, and so therefore there's a great deal of concern that the extraterrestrial species may be functioning with a different ethical system than we. These activities of especially the abductions and the involuntary breeding programs is violative of every kind of basic ethical standard that we've got. It entails kidnapping, rape, assault. There's all those things, and it's perfectly valid him locking down on those things and saying this is completely unacceptable, and that we ought to take steps to get it to stop. So I agree with him on that. We need to do that. We need to do it diplomatically. We don't need to go to war about it. We
got to negotiate with the aliens and not go to war with them. Please, aliens, stop raping and abducting us. Please, aliens. Please. Oh, by the way, the guy who just asked and pleaded for the president of the United States to do that is holding a rally for disclosure in front of Senator Chuck Schumer's office on March 21st, 2024. So good luck with the people who are going, Jeremy Corbell and Dave Foley. Like, good luck at that rally, you maniacs. Boy, oh boy. You guys, that is the show. I hope you had a good time. It was fun. Again, we are going to be here every Monday and Friday from 3 to 5-ish. We went a little long today. The podcast will be up on Spotify tomorrow, so you can check out this show on podcast tomorrow. And we've started updating all of our podcasts on there, so please go check those out. Want to say thank you to everyone who donated. I'm not here, this isn't happening. Everyone who was in the chat, thank you so damn much for being here. I appreciate it. We also had gotten a new subscriber. Wanted to shout them out. Searching for Math subscribed 6 hours ago. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And yeah, so just wanted to give you a quick shout out. And I think that is everything, you guys. Please don't forget to smack that like button, hit the share button, share the show if you love today's show. Tell your friends about it. All the good stuff. Ring the bell. That way you're notified anytime we do go live with breaking news or anything like that outside of our normal 3 to 5 Monday and Friday schedule. And if you really love the show, check out our Patreon. The link is in the description below. Shout out again to our latest Patreon member, Steve Long, $20 a month. You are a king, man. Thank you so damn much. And yeah, it helps us produce this show. The more Patreon members we have, the more time I have to dedicate to this show. The more shows you get, the more podcasts you get, the more content you guys get, because that means I can not have to do my real job and focus more on this shit. So if you want more of it, be a Steve Long. Help me out. Help out the show. If you only love it and if you can do it. If you can't, the show will always be free, no paywalls, no nothing. So don't worry about it. I love that you're here. I love that you're sharing the show. So outside of that, it's just icing on the beautiful cake. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me of discovery together. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and thank you for subscribing to Lube Reviews and helping us and me and the community together raise the bar on UFOs and UAP. So thank you guys again so much out there. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great rest of your week. Until then, peace out. I love you all. Nah, let's do something a little more. Nah. Let's do this one. No, let's do this one. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. That's how we end the show. Thank you, William Runner. Thank you, RJ Maurice. Seriously, next time you guys call in, if you have a story like that, I want to hear it. I want to hear about it. Don't be afraid to call in. We'll definitely do another call-in show, so if you were too afraid this time, don't sweat it. We'll have the open lines next time. Thank you, Smith. Thank you, Jason Brown. Thank you, Bobby Broadway. Awesome member of the show. Thank you so much. We already said thank you. Thank you again, Archangel. Moondust, thank you, everyone. Take care of yourself. Why, oh, why, fools? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Drummer3354, thank you so much for being here. Tim Dog, Simon Fly. We already said Jason Brown, but Steve Long, thank you so damn much for being here and supporting the show. You guys, you're amazing. Have a great night. Have a great night.